Yeah.
It's as simple as forwards, backwards. So if you want to,
Okay.
and the last person used it and was down here and it worked. Not a
So
problem.
I can walk around.
You can walk around.
Cool.
You need a few minutes to get started, or no, you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah, it's right here. I'll put it. All right, guys, we'll get started on our next session presenter. It's Renee DeLuca Dolan, who is the owner of Contempo Communications. And if you've got the magazine there at your table, it's the CBC Cleveland Business Connects magazine. And I knew Renee from my time on the alumni board at Kent State and realized that she was the publisher of CBC. And when we were setting up this event, I don't think I could have thought of anyone else better to talk about how to network than someone who publishes a magazine about networking. Renee, as I said, publishes Cleveland Business Connect magazine in part to professionally networking in Northeast Ohio. She stresses the importance of networking while offering several examples of how to successfully do so at a corporate and professional event. So like our last presenter, she'll be very active. There are some handouts that are going around. I think we may be just a tad short. We're going to have some copies made, if so. But please welcome Renee DeLuca Dolan.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay? I don't sit still very well, so I'm probably going to walk around. So as long as you can hear me and the wireless mic is good, you're probably not going to see me up there. So I am Renee DeLuca Dolan, as James said. I've been the owner and operator of a creative firm for the last 17 years called Contempo Communications. 6 years ago, we started Cleveland Business Connects magazine. The real focus is to concentrate on events, networking, and business trends in Northeast Ohio, but we wanted to differentiate ourselves and cater to professional business women because the other business-to-business titles in our region cater to professional business men. So 72% of the people that read CBC are professional business women, ages 25 to 52. But that doesn't mean I'm trying to neglect the 30% of the men that do read CBC. We also produce, along with a monthly magazine, in doing creative and marketing services, we also produce 7 of our own events a year, ranging from business events, networking events, an awards event, and this year for the first time we're doing an all-day female entrepreneur summit for women in business, mid-level at their careers, and we're bringing in Ariana Huffington, the founder of the Huffington Post, to speak at that event. So we're very excited about that. It's a big deal for Cleveland. She's never been to Ohio. So we're very excited to have her. That's in April. So if anybody wants any information about that event, please let me know. But today I'm here to talk about connections and building your network. I just want a show of hands. Who in the room is a student and who is, well, let's start with students. Who is students? Okay, so vast majority. The other group are business professionals that are out and about networking. Show of hands there. Just you two? All right, maybe 10 folks in the room. So I think today what I'm going to do is try to focus on building your network when you are at a college level or as a student and the importance of that. And there's one example that I'm going to use from my own personal experience. When I was at Kent State, obviously I'm an alum because James and I are on the national board together. I met a gentleman who at the time, believe it or not, my mother is a hairdresser and she was cutting this man's hair and he worked for a design agency. And she said, my daughter's at Kent State studying graphic design, will you meet with her? So we met and we talked and I was very nervous, showed him my portfolio, and by the time I graduated, he had moved on and wasn't in that business anymore. But we have kept in touch, and quarterly now we still go to lunch. We meet and we talk about connections and networking. One of his daughters came to me and was looking for an internship. So that's an example of somebody that I met through my mother, and I've kept in touch with all these years, and you never know where that's going to go or what that person can do for you or what you can do for them. And so I think it's just, you never realize who you're talking to and what role they're going to play in your life. I would have never thought that he would still be, you know, in my life 25 years later. So I wanted to tell you that story. So I gave you guys a little sheet, and this isn't, you know, it's not rocket science. I just thought if you maybe could write down 10 to 20, it could either be individuals or industries that you would like to network within. I think people struggle sometimes is, how do I build my network? Well, we don't really look at who can help us build our network. In my case, when I first started my business on the creative side, most of my clients are people in the marketing industry. So I thought, well, where am I going to get the people who do marketing? So I joined the American Marketing Association. Well, I was like one of only 2 designers in the group. So I met a ton of people. I think some people think, well, I'm a female, I should join maybe a women's group. And that was wonderful, and I've done that, but I got more leads and referrals from the American Marketing Association than I have from the women's group, because these are people that needed the services that I had to offer. So if you guys just want to take a couple minutes and write down maybe a couple names or some industries of people that you think might be able to help you in your network, then I'll ask a few questions. And I'll ask for a volunteer. But if I don't get one, I'll call on someone. So. Did you get it? I did. Okay. They're bright yellow. And you could write it anywhere. It's really just, yeah. It's not real formal. And there's a couple over here. Are you guys using these here? You want to use those? Because I think they were out of them. Oh, there are 2 people sitting there? Okay, great. So I see a lot of people still writing, and that's great, but could I maybe have a volunteer of somebody that wrote down either one name or one industry that they might want to network with? Anybody? Okay. CPAs. CPAs, okay, great. So are you a student or are you in the professional world?
Both, I guess. I'm an intern working for an independent RIA. And I guess we would be able to do some like profit sharing type stuff or be able to share some leads.
Okay, so you're looking to network with CPAs because you would get direct business from them or for referrals or both?
Both.
Okay, so in your case, and I'm a designer, so the financial and legal people in my life are in another box, but I do network with a lot of financial people. So Probably, I don't know that I'm going to be able to recommend, but James might be able to help us here. I'm sure that there are organizations just there, like there are for folks in the marketing world, that cater to accounting, folks in accounting. I don't know, James, maybe is there a local?
I was thinking the CFA Society of Cleveland.
There you go. The CFA Society of Cleveland, which is who's putting on this event today. So that might be a great networking group for you to be a part of. I think my point here in telling you guys this and going through this exercise is that sometimes we think of networking, and again, we want to go with somebody like us or in a like industry, but they really might not be able to help us if we're strictly talking about business leads and referrals. So that was the point. Does anybody else want to share? Anybody else other than CPA related? Hi.
I was going to say it was one of the recruiters that I've spoke with that works at Rosetta.
Yes.
They do all sorts of marketing,
Mm-hmm.
stage one being SEO optimization.
Mm-hmm.
And since they deal with such a breadth of companies that are growing,
Mm-hmm.
they're in the need for financial services because they need to finance the expansion.
Sure.
I would go through them to try and find companies that are growing that could use me as an independent consultant.
Right, and that's a really good point. It doesn't necessarily, you mentioned CPAs, but there's a lot of companies that might need the services of a financial professional. There's a lot of up-and-coming companies in our area, startups, a lot of venture capital folks, funding, technology companies. That's a great point. I think that's a great idea. Anybody else want to share possible networking groups or organizations? Any questions? Okay. So this is, where do you start? We sort of went over that, but I think when I first started my business, I had 2 employees, and I worked in Chagrin Falls in a very small office, and I didn't talk to anybody other than the people I called on the phone, or they called me, and I thought, this is pretty good. I'm doing all right. I didn't go to any networking events, and then I got a call from Steve Millard, who is the president still today of COSI, the Council of Smaller Enterprises. I don't know if any of you are familiar with COSI. And he said, Renee, I saw your name and that you have a business in Chagrin Falls. And he said, but I don't really see you out and about. And I said, okay, that's fair. He said, we're having an event in Chagrin Falls. It was a breakfast event, and I'm not a morning person. But I said, fine, I'll show up. So it was at 7 o'clock in the morning, and there were 15 people there, and these were the founders of COSI. So there was nobody under the age of 70 in the room, besides Steve and I. Steve's a pretty young guy. And so I sat there and I thought, I'm not sure this is a great group for me, but everybody was really kind and nice. So afterwards, Steve and I talked. He came and did a tour of our office. Well, fast forward, whatever that was, 12, 15 years ago, after that meeting, I have been engaged with COSI on the design end. We were their design partner for their COSI Business Plan Challenge. They support the magazine. They're one of the sponsors for the Female Entrepreneurship event. So again, that started not even with a relationship with COSI, but just getting involved with other COSI members. And fast forward to today, and we've become friends as well, Steve and I. So that's a good example of, I didn't know what to do with networking. I had no idea where to start, and I was already paying a fee because my healthcare benefits for my employees were through COSI. I just didn't realize the amount of networking opportunities that they had available. So for anybody that's interested in networking, COSI is a great opportunity when you're first starting out. So I get a lot of people that say to me, well, I'm really shy, and I'm not really good in front of a group of people, and I don't know how to network, and I end up being the one, drinking in the corner by myself. Well, first of all, I think that at a networking group, things have changed. We don't, at least from my perspective, sort of the serial networker. I hope that we don't see those folks anymore. That's the one that runs around and just passes out business cards at events, doesn't want to really talk to you or get to know you. So I think the one-on-one, more intimate relationship is the way that you want to go at a networking event. So even if you're not very, or you don't think you're personable, find one person in the room that you're comfortable talking to and exchange a business card, a lead, a referral. Again, you never know who this person is or who they know, and get comfortable with one person. It's a nice way to, I think, start networking if you're not comfortable being in a big group of people. And To be honest with you, I'm not that comfortable in a large environment. I'm much better in a smaller, intimate environment, but I've learned over the years, and obviously with my career in publishing a networking magazine, I'm at a lot of events. As I mentioned, we do 7 of our own. We sponsor another 25, and then I probably go to an event a week. So I'm at 50 networking events a year. So that's what that's about there as far as being a people person. These are 5 traits that pretty much I try to live by as far as becoming an effective connector. So I thought I would share those with you. I don't have anything formal or an outline that I can pass out, but you guys are always welcome to call or email me. My contact information is in the magazine. Don't do what I did and come to a networking event without any business cards. But you can find me in the magazine. So focusing on others rather than yourself and your own needs, I think a lot of times I meet people at events and right away they'll ask me what I do and then they'll say, oh, well, we can print your magazine or we can do this for you. And they don't ask me really, once they hear what I do, the whole conversation shifts to them and they don't really care about me or what I do. They just want to get business. So I think, and really it's common courtesy to just, talk to people, listen to what they have to say, and get to know what their needs are. You may not even be associated with their business or be able to help them with a referral, but you never know who their wife is, who their husband is, who their associates are. So again, I think just taking into consideration that networking, I try to look at it that it's not about me, it's about somebody else and giving and helping and referring, because that comes back to you tenfold. And that's part of this as well. I'd also like to tell you guys a story. This was through Cozy, probably 11 or 12 years ago. We were at an event. They used to have something called the Cozy Business After Hours event. I don't think they do this anymore, but as a small business, you could pay for a trade show booth. And they would get around 1,000 people, and it was after hours. They always had a theme, and they served alcohol. And we were there representing Contemporary Design Group. And there was one gentleman that stood like beyond our booth, but he stood there the whole time and was sort of looking. There were 3 of us there. And so towards the end, and he stood there for like 2 hours. So towards the end, I said to my associate, I said, do you know this guy? And he said, no, I thought maybe you knew him. And I said, no. And I said, well, maybe he'll come up to us now that the event is ending. And he didn't. So I went up to him, realized that he was very shy. That's just his personality. And he said, I belong to a professional networking group, and we would like to consider you to join this group. I said, great. I thought, I'm not sure about this guy, because like I said, he stood there for 2 hours. I thought that was a little odd, and I wish he was here because he would get a kick out of this, because I never told him that. But I will, so I'm not talking behind his back. So we went to lunch, and he said, I'm part of this group, and he was in the finance world. He's a partner at an accounting firm now. And he said, it's a professional group, but we only let 1 person per industry in. We don't have anybody in the design or marketing field. Would you like to come as my guest? Well, I went to this meeting. It was at their accounting firm, and there were about 25 people in the room. Needless to say, I was in that group for 10 years. I just left the group 2 years ago. And over that period of time, it warranted me close to $1 million of business from the people in that room and referrals that they gave me. So here's a guy that you might have thought, sort of, who's this weird person that's been standing out there for 2 hours, and look what happened. So again, you never know what's going to happen. And the people that he introduced me to, and again, he's a person that I would consider a business associate and a friend today. He supports all of our events. He comes to all of our events. The firm that he works for has sponsored our events. They've advertised in the magazine. So again, it's just, goes to show you never know who somebody is. I think the other thing about this is ask great questions that will lead you to the answers that you're seeking. Part of the initial response when you meet somebody at an event, again, I try to really listen to what they're saying. And then once that initial conversation is over, I try to pose questions that might relate to myself, but not in a manner that they're going to, again, think, well, she's just here for herself. So I'm trying to think of an example of how I can explain this to you. So I meet somebody at, what is your name? Seth? And what do you do? Full-time student. What are you studying? Okay, financial economics. So we meet at an event and we have a nice conversation, and I might ask you, have you ever worked with any folks in the marketing area, or do you know anybody in any of your circles? And you may say, yes. So we may start to have a conversation about that person or what that person does. By the end of that conversation, I'm sure, I can almost guarantee that I would walk away knowing who this marketing person was, knowing where they worked, and later I would follow up with Seth and say, hey, do you mind if you give me that person's contact, or contact your friend, and ask them to give me a call? I think it might be a good connection. So I think, again, especially for me, I'm busy, so going to these events is taking usually away from my personal time. So I do need to get something out of it, but I think if you pose the questions properly and you're considerate of other people's time and you listen, you're really going to get the answers that you're looking for or seeking. Direct the conversation so you aren't ever really selling anything. People always ask me when I meet them, what do you sell? And I tell them I don't sell anything. I'm a creative person. I went to school for graphic design. My degree's in design. I have a minor in communication, so I think that helped me. But I never think that I'm selling because I'm passionate about what I do, and what I do is part of who I am. I think being creative is part of who I am. I don't know on the financial side, is being finance-oriented, is that just part of your being? And are you as passionate about finance as I am about design? Yes? Anybody? I would think so. James, thank you. Chime in. Oh, you're saying you are. Okay, thank you. So I think that, and I guess I'm not exactly sure how to explain this to you, other than the fact is I don't ever feel I'm selling anything. I talk about what I do very passionately. I've been in the business a long time. I used to work at American Greetings, so I have a lot of experience in corporate America and being out on my own. So I think once people just hear my story, there's an assumption there that, wow, she knows what she's talking about. And then the other way I think that I do it without being very specific or making it look self-serving is that I will talk about who our clients are. So I'll say that we do work for the Cleveland Indians and Sherwin-Williams and Eaton Corporation and Cleveland Clinic and UH. I've been in business for 17 years. If you're doing business with those folks for a long period of time, you have to be doing something right. So without really talking specifically about, we do this, and listing my services like a sales pitch, I just try to have normal conversation.
Would you say it's fair to say then that when you're talking to these people, it's as much about what they get out of it as what you get out of it?
Oh, of
if
course.
Not more?
Yes. Yes, exactly. Thank you. And this is, create a memorable experience, differentiate yourself. Again, at these events, I see the same people, and this is years going by. I'll see the same, this woman's in my head, and I'm not going to tell you her name because some of you may know her. She's at every networking event in Cleveland. She's a very nice person and actually has a very successful business, but she just walks around the room and, what are you doing now? How can I get involved? Here's my business card. There's no real genuine sense there, but she's doing something right because she does have a very good business. So I don't know that, and there's a lot of people like her. I don't know that she creates any differentiation or that there's any wow factor. And I'm not saying act crazy and do cartwheels, but differentiate yourself because everybody in the room is there for the same reason you're there. They're all networking. So maybe it's a conversation, maybe you tell a funny story. I will tell you a story. If you can't handle your alcohol, do not drink and you guys might not be of age, but do not drink at any social networking event. This just happened to me 3 weeks ago. It was our event, and it was an awards event. There were 400 people at this event. And the awards presentation was over. We were the hosts of the show. It was great. Everybody was happy. But it was at the House of Blues, so everybody was drinking. And somebody came up to me that I know through business, and he said, yeah, we have a mutual friend. And he was a little tipsy. And okay, that's fine. And I said, who is that? And he started to talk about somebody that I used to work with when I was 16 at a restaurant. Like, I don't know. I don't remember him. There were a lot of waiters. I was a hostess. There was a lot of waiters at this restaurant. So he kept going on, and he goes, yeah, but this guy said that you were really hot. And I'm like, oh, see ya. I mean, why would you say that to somebody in a business networking setting? I just thought that was so inappropriate. And I just sort of said, okay, see ya. And I walked away. And he's not normally like that. I guess that's the reason I'm telling you that. He's really sort of a quiet guy in a business setting. So again, I'm saying that I don't mean to be looking at you. It wasn't him. But, you know, I'm going to say that that was because he was drinking and he felt a little bit more comfortable and willing to say that. So definitely there was a wow factor there, but now in my mind, I think this guy's a real, you know, whatever. You guys fill in the blanks. So I just wanted to tell you that story because it just happened and I thought it was funny. But I will not forget, out of everybody that I talked to that night, that guy is standing, you know, in my mind because I just thought that's ridiculous. And then I thought, so you're saying I'm not hot now? You know, I'm out of here. So I ran away, but I thought that was funny. So again, try to differentiate yourself. And you all have unique personalities, so I can't really tell you how to do that. But if you like to tell jokes, tell some jokes. I don't know about singing. I don't know that I would do that. But basically be yourself. I think if you're genuine about the communication at any networking event, whether it's a corporate event or a career event, I think that people are going to see that. And I would also say, ask somebody if you can give them your business card. I think that's nice instead of just automatically saying, here's my card. The other thing that I do, every single person that attended that event, I've been on vacation, so I haven't done it yet for this event, I will send them a thank you note. It's $350, but I still do that. I write thank you notes before on my way here actually, I dropped about 22 thank you notes off in the post box. I go to Target, I buy thank you notes that are pretty and fun, and they don't have our company logo on them. I don't put my business card in there. Thank you. Thanks for attending our event. Thanks for supporting it. It's old-fashioned, but it's common courtesy, and people really appreciate it. I mean, I don't know how many of you have recently received a birthday card or a thank you note, and you get really excited. You're like, nobody sends notes anymore. You know, you put it on your desk or you put it on your windowsill, and it goes a long way. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, he was an older gentleman. Actually, he's now retired. I'm going to say he was in his early 80s. This was a healthcare benefits company. Everybody else in the room was fairly young. There were probably 16 of us, and he was a partner, getting ready to retire. We had a nice meeting, followed up with a younger person who was the marketing person, really wasn't getting anywhere. So I sent this older gentleman a note, a handwritten note. Hi, great meeting, not really getting anywhere, wondering if you could help me out. And like 3 days later, his marketing person called and said, you know, we want to, I think it was for advertising in the magazine, and the contract was like $15,000. I guarantee you it was because of that. That letter had a lot to do with it. I mean, not that we didn't do a good job in the presentation, and they didn't want to advertise with us, but I think we went that little extra mile, and it's a nice thing to say thank you. I don't think a lot of people do that anymore, but I still, even for prospecting and new business, I send out letters on our letterhead, company letterhead, number 10 envelope, put a stamp on it, handwrite an address, and I'll send it to a CEO, and I'll follow up, and they'll get on the phone. So it's amazing at how those little things that you don't think of make a big difference, because nobody else is doing it, although all 120 of you guys will now be doing it. But nobody else is really doing that anymore, and I think it makes a difference.
Would you advise me sending a card?
A business card? Oh, I never do that. Unless maybe your name is John Smith. They might know a lot of John Smiths. So if you don't think they're going to remember your name, then I would say put it in there. Renee DeLuca Dolan, I don't ever put a business card in there. And I don't stamp even the, I don't even think I put our company, I don't even put a return address. I just handwrite it and put it in the mail. I don't put a company label or sticker or anything on it, so it's very personal. And I always put a stamp on it. And even today when we're doing direct mail for clients, I advise them against metering anything. They don't like it because it costs more. But you know, and personally writing things out versus metering things and printing labels and putting it on direct mail.
So I guess you stand out by having a personal touch, different relationship.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think it really makes a difference. So maybe that's my differentiation. I don't know if I ever thought of it that way, but I do think it makes a difference for people. And we started to talk about this. So, okay, you meet somebody at an event. here's the other thing that is always shocking to me. I'll meet somebody who, this is the person that comes up to me, oh, you publish a magazine, we want to print your magazine. You know, we'll call you. They never call me. Well, I'm not going to call them, I'm busy. So if you tell somebody you're going to call them, or email them, or follow up, because it does make a difference. Again, there were over 350 people at this event at the House of Blues. At the very end, I said, you know, hope to see you at another one of our events. We'll be in touch soon. Well, I sent handwritten notes to every person that attended that event. So at least I kept my word. And again, all of this stuff it's common sense and it's being considerate, but so many people do not do that anymore. They don't say thank you. They don't do what they say they're gonna do. So if you just do some of these simple things, you're gonna be way far ahead of the curve. That's a good follow-up tip. And then, you know, maybe you're not getting a response. I will not stop calling somebody though until they call me back and say either go pound salt or let's have a meeting. But I will continue, not in an aggressive manner, but I am persistent and I keep notes. I use an Excel spreadsheet. My whole office is like, oh, we have this online system. I use my own and I'm a designer. So it's all color-coded. It's like purple, yellow, green. You know, green means it's still in development. It's like a traffic light. Yellow means on hold, like, you know, wait, don't call that person. Red means stop, don't ever call that person again, take them off the list, they're not interested in doing business. And I don't get offended if they don't call me back, but, and this is a true story. This is somebody that's just gonna start advertising in the magazine in May. We've been talking to this person for 3 years. I'll tell you what business he's in, but I'm not gonna tell you who he is. It's a car dealership. These guys are busy, I get that. They're selling cars and they're supposed to. And most of the general managers are actually selling, that they're on the, you know, they're in the showroom. So we met with him, this was an ad sales director ago, so 3 years ago. Yeah, love your magazine, it's great, not ready to advertise. I called that guy every month for the last 3 years. Then, within the last 6 months, I have been to that guy's office 8 times. So the last time I was there was right before I went on vacation. And he said he was going to sign this contract. So I sent a gentleman in my office while I was gone, and I said, you go, because he's not signing anything, and I've been there 8 times, and I'm done. Well, he signed the contract when I was gone, and he's going to start advertising. Some people may think I'm crazy that I kept up like that, but unfortunately today, in today's time, that guy probably gets 1 million calls from 1 million people selling magazine advertising. I had to make myself stand out. He asked me to come to his office. I went to his office 8 times. Luckily, it's not that far away from my office. So it's just interesting how that process happens. I don't know that that's necessarily networking, but it is. I met, how did I meet him? Or why did we, well, I mean, he's a car dealer and they sell a product that is perfect for our magazine, but somebody introduced me to him or gave me his name probably 8 years ago. So that was through a connection or a networking opportunity. So that's pretty much the presentation. Do you guys have any questions? I mean, I'm willing to talk pretty much about anything as long as we stick it to the networking and connections topic. Any way that I can help you or any other suggestion or any other questions on particular organizations. Like I said, I'm not really on the finance side, so I don't know a lot on that side, but there are general organizations that might be good that we could talk about if anybody has any questions.
What would be your top 3 best organizations for us to get into as students?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Do you want me to go from
No, go ahead.
What are the top 3 organizations that you would say for the students that are in the room that we should look into joining?
Okay, well, I think most of you, again, are in the finance industry. So where's my friend James? We're going to go with the CFA organization, and maybe he can tell you more about it. I am not that familiar with the organization itself.
Sure. So I think, one, the CFA Society of Cleveland obviously is a local organization, and as Bill pointed out in his talk earlier this morning, that we have weekly luncheons that you can attend and meet with people. The FMA organization that most colleges have, if they have a finance program, is probably another, and it's not necessary to network with your student friends, but the people that come in to present to that organization. And then 3, there's
any kind of honors organization or business school honors program that you can get into. And again, it's not necessarily for that program itself, but to meet those connections that you make that come in and talk. So I would look at those as my first 3 choices.
And James, those are great, you know, specifically on the finance side. Now, give me an idea of, just because you're in finance, I'm assuming that doesn't mean all of you want to work at an accounting firm, right? So give me another industry focus where maybe you want to work. Anybody? Pensions, okay. Oh boy, this is just not my area. So who hires people insurance companies? Would you work for an insurance company?